If you are over 60 and feel like your hands and feet are permanently wrapped in thick wool gloves, even when you are barefoot, I need you to stop what you are doing and listen very closely. What if I told you that a $15 solution available at any local drugstore could help you regain feeling in your extremities in as little as 5 days? It sounds like a bold claim, but I have seen it happen with my own patients, and today I am going to show you exactly how it works. I am about to share might actually make you a little angry. Most doctors are telling their patients that nerve damage is an irreversible one-way street, but they are often saying this without running one simple, inexpensive blood test that could change your entire life. In the next few minutes, you are going to learn how to potentially reclaim the sensation in your hands and feet that you thought was gone forever. Before we get into the science, I would love to know who I am speaking with today. Please drop a comment below with your age and where you are watching from. It truly helps me tailor this information to better serve our community here at Evergreen Seniors. And if you find this type of deep dive health advice valuable, consider subscribing to the channel so you never miss a breakthrough that could improve your quality of life. Let me tell you about a patient of mine named Margaret. She is 72 years old, and about a year ago, she started experiencing something terrifying. It began when she was working in her garden. Her hands would suddenly go numb, and she would find herself dropping her trowel without even realizing it. Then it moved to her morning routine. She would pick up her favorite ceramic mug, and it would simply slide through her fingers and shatter on the tiles. She even stopped taking warm baths because she could no longer accurately judge the water temperature and had accidentally burned her skin twice. But the nights were the worst. Margaret would wake up at 2 in the morning with her feet tingling so intensely it felt like thousands of jagged glass shards were pressing against her skin from the inside. There were some nights where she couldn't feel her legs at all. It was as if her lower body no longer belonged to her. Like most people, Margaret went to her primary doctor, who then referred her to a high-level neurologist. After undergoing several rounds of expensive nerve conduction studies and painful EMG testing, she was given a formal diagnosis of peripheral neuropathy. The specialist looked her in the eye and told her the damage was permanent. He said her nerve fibers were essentially dead, and there was no way to bring them back. He then handed her a prescription for gabapentin and sent her on her way. Margaret took that medication for 3 weeks, but the side effects were unbearable. She felt like she was living in a fog. She was constantly dizzy and actually fell twice while trying to get to the bathroom at night. Her balance became so precarious that her family started talking about getting her a walker. And the most frustrating part was that her hands and feet didn't feel any better, not even a little bit. That is when Margaret's son brought her to my clinic for a second opinion. I have spent more than 2 decades helping seniors reverse conditions that other medical professionals labeled as incurable. What happened to Margaret is a tragedy that plays out in doctors' offices across the country every single day. When I looked at her case, I didn't just see damaged nerves. I saw a biological system that was starving for specific nutrients. I discovered that there are 3 specific B vitamins that can actually rebuild the very nerve tissue that neurologists claim is impossible to fix. And for many people, the healing process begins in less than a week. Now, I know you might be skeptical. You might be thinking that vitamins sound way too simple for such a painful and complex problem. But I want you to stay with me, because what I am about to show you is backed by rigorous clinical data and has helped hundreds of my own patients get back on their feet. The truth that many large pharmaceutical companies aren't eager for you to know is that in a huge number of cases, peripheral neuropathy isn't caused by the death of the nerve itself. Instead, it is caused by a specific, hidden combination of vitamin deficiencies that can be corrected very quickly. We are talking about 3 very specific B vitamins, in 3 very specific forms, at 3 very specific doses. When these work together, they act like a repair crew for your nervous system, rebuilding your tissue from the inside out. Margaret spent less than $20 at a pharmacy and started seeing a shift in her symptoms in just 72 hours. So if you are tired of dropping things, if you are scared of losing your independence, or if that nightly tingling is keeping you awake, you need to hear what comes next. Because understanding exactly what is happening inside your nerves is the first step to fixing them. Do you know what peripheral neuropathy actually looks like under a microscope? The answer explains why your current medication is likely failing you. To understand why your nerves are failing, we have to look at what peripheral neuropathy actually is. Your peripheral nerves are the communication lines that run from your spinal cord all the way out to your fingertips and toes. When these lines are damaged, the signals get garbled or lost entirely. This is why you lose sensation, why you experience that maddening tingling, and why you can no longer tell if your bath water is lukewarm or scalding. Your neurologist likely told you that the insulation around your nerves, called the myelin sheath, has simply worn away and that the nerve fibers are dying. They told you the only option is to manage the pain with heavy-duty drugs. But in many cases, they are fundamentally wrong. The vast majority of peripheral neuropathy cases aren't caused by permanent death of the nerve. Instead, the nerves are in a state of hibernation or dysfunction because they are missing 3 specific B vitamins required for repair and regeneration. Think of your nerves like electrical wires in a house. For those wires to work, they need 3 distinct components. First, you need a high-quality conductor to carry the electrical current. That is vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. Without B1, your nerves simply cannot transmit signals effectively. It's like having a copper wire that is too thin to carry the load. Second, those wires need heavy-duty insulation, so the electricity doesn't leak out. That is the job of vitamin B6, or pyridoxine. B6 is essential for maintaining that myelin sheath I mentioned earlier. If you are low on B6, it's like having an electrical cord with cracked, peeling rubber insulation. The signals short-circuit before they ever reach their destination. Third, your nerves need a way to repair themselves when they get frazzled. This is where vitamin B12 comes in, specifically in the form of methylcobalamin. B12 is the foreman of the repair crew. It is responsible for actual nerve regeneration and rebuilding the tissue. The most critical thing to understand is that these 3 vitamins are synergistic. This means they empower one another. If you only take 1 or 2, you aren't going to see much of a change. You need all 3 working in harmony, at the correct dosages to see a real difference. When I finally ran the blood work for Margaret, the results were shocking, yet entirely predictable. Her B1 levels were at 22 nanomoles per litre, when they should have been at least 70. Her B6 was at 18, below the minimum of 20, and her B12 was sitting at 210, while a healthy nerve-regenerating level is closer to 900. Margaret was severely deficient in every single nerve-critical vitamin, and yet her previous specialist had never checked these levels once. He saw that her nerves weren't firing on the tests, and immediately jumped to the conclusion that she was a lost cause. Then he gave her gabapentin, which doesn't do a single thing to heal or nourish nerve tissue. All it does is dampen the way your brain perceives the pain. It's like turning off the fire alarm while the kitchen is still on fire. You might be asking yourself how someone like Margaret, or someone like you, becomes so deficient in the first place. While a poor diet can play a role, especially as we age, there is a much more common culprit that almost no one talks about. There are several extremely common medications that actually rob your body of these B vitamins. If you are taking metformin for diabetes, it is notorious for depleting B12. If you take a PPI like omeprazole for acid reflux, you are likely blocking your body's ability to absorb B12 and B1. Even common diuretics or daily aspirin can drain your B vitamin reserves over time. Margaret had been taking acid reflux medication for 8 years. For nearly a decade, that little pill was slowly starving her nervous system. No one told her, no one tested her, and no one warned her that her indigestion fix was actually causing her nerve damage. This is the gap in modern medicine that makes me so passionate about what I do. We have the tools to identify these deficiencies, yet they are ignored in favor of expensive prescriptions. But what happens when you actually provide the body with the science-backed doses it's been screaming for? The results of one landmark study might change everything you think you know about permanent damage. The science behind this isn't just theory. It's backed by a landmark German study published in the journal Neurological Research. Researchers took a group of patients who were suffering from confirmed peripheral neuropathy and put them on a specific daily protocol. They were given 100 milligrams of B1, 100 milligrams of B6, and 1,000 micrograms of B12. The results they observed were nothing short of incredible. After only 3 weeks, 68% of the patients experienced a significant reversal of their neuropathy symptoms. Their nerve conduction improved, their ability to feel temperature returned, and the painful tingling that kept them up at night was drastically reduced. We aren't talking about 3 years of therapy. We are talking about 21 days of giving the body exactly what it needs. Even more surprising was that many patients reported feeling a difference within the very first 5 days. This happens because when you provide your nerves with the raw building blocks for repair, the body's natural healing systems kick into high gear immediately. However, there is a catch that most supplement companies don't want you to know. Not all B vitamins are created equal. If you go to a big box store and buy the cheapest B complex on the shelf, you are likely wasting your money. Most of those use synthetic forms that your body, especially as you get older, simply cannot absorb or utilize effectively. For B1, you shouldn't just look for thiamine, you want benfotiamine. This is a fat-soluble version of the vitamin that can actually penetrate your nerve tissue much more effectively than standard B1. For B6, you want the active form known as P5P, or pyridoxal 5-phosphate. This is the pre-digested version that your body can use instantly without needing to convert it first. And for B12, stay away from cyanocobalamin. That is a cheap synthetic form. You want methylcobalamin. This is the natural, active form that is directly responsible for nerve regeneration. Many people take a generic vitamin and see 0 results, so they assume vitamins don't work. In reality, they were just using the wrong tools for the job. When I put Margaret on this high-quality protocol, 100 milligrams of benfotiamine, 100 milligrams of P5P, and 1,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin, her transformation was breathtaking. On day 1, she felt nothing, which is completely normal as the body begins to replenish its stores. By day 2, she thought the needles in her left foot felt slightly less sharp, but she wasn't quite sure yet. But by day 3, she called my office in tears. For the first time in over 6 months, that constant torturous tingling had noticeably quieted down. She finally had hope. But what happened on day 5 was the real breakthrough that proved her nerves were actually waking up. By day 5, Margaret had a moment that changed everything. She was preparing her morning bath, and without thinking, dipped her hand into the water. For the first time in nearly a year, she could actually feel the heat. She didn't have to guess or rely on her daughter to check the temperature. Her own nerves were sending a clear, accurate signal to her brain. That same afternoon, she realized she could feel the texture of the bath mat under her feet. This was the sensation her previous neurologist insisted would never return. As we moved into week 2, the progress only accelerated. Margaret noticed she could pick up her ceramic coffee mug with a steady, confident grip. It didn't slip, and her fingers didn't feel like they were made of wood. By week 3, the numbness in her hands had diminished by 50%. She was back to buttoning her own blouses and handling delicate tasks in the kitchen that she had previously abandoned out of fear. After 1 full month on the protocol, we repeated her nerve conduction studies. The data was undeniable. Her nerve function had improved by a staggering 60%. When I showed Margaret the charts, she wept in my office. She asked me the same question so many of you are probably asking right now. Why didn't my other doctor check for this? Why was I told there was no hope? The reality is that modern medicine is often hyper-focused on managing symptoms with pharmaceuticals rather than investigating the basic nutritional foundations of health. It is easier to write a prescription for a nerve number than it is to sit down and analyze a patient's vitamin levels and medication history. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. This protocol is not a magic wand for every single person. If your neuropathy is the result of uncontrolled diabetes, your first priority must be stabilizing your blood sugar. If your damage comes from chemotherapy or a severe physical injury, the timeline and the mechanism of healing may be different. However, for the millions of seniors suffering from what doctors call idiopathic neuropathy, which is just a fancy way of saying they don't know the cause, vitamin deficiency is the hidden culprit in the vast majority of cases. The tragedy isn't just the pain, it's the unnecessary loss of independence. People are giving up driving, gardening, and playing with their grandkids because they've been told their nerves are dead, when in reality, those nerves are just starving. But how do you take this information and turn it into a plan of action? What are the exact steps you need to take starting tomorrow morning to see if you can achieve the same results Margaret did? If you are dealing with the pain and frustration of peripheral neuropathy, here is exactly what you need to do starting today. First, visit your local pharmacy or health food store and look for a high-quality B-complex supplement. You must check the label to ensure it contains the specific active forms we discussed at the correct dosages. You are looking for 100 milligrams of B1 as benfotiamine, 100 milligrams of B6 as P5P, and 1,000 micrograms of B12 as methylcobalamin. Avoid the cheaper synthetic versions like cyanocobalamin or regular thiamine, as they simply won't provide the same regenerative power. Take one capsule every morning with your breakfast. Since these B vitamins are water-soluble, your body will safely naturally flush out what it doesn't use. Within just 3 days, you should start to notice that intense tingling sensation beginning to fade. By day 5, look for those small but miraculous signs of returning sensation in your hands or feet. By the second week, many people see a real improvement in their grip strength and overall balance. Give the process 1 full month to truly allow your body to rebuild that delicate nerve tissue. Think about the life Margaret is living now. She is back to cooking meals for her family without the fear of dropping a hot pan. She can enjoy a warm bath safely, sleep through the night without pain, and most importantly, she can actually feel her grandchildren's hands when they hold hers. She reclaimed her independence for about $50, which is a stark contrast to the expensive medications that caused her to feel dizzy and fall prone without ever healing her nerves. At the same time you start your supplement, call your doctor and request a blood panel for your B1, B6, and B12 levels. Demand to see the actual numbers so you know exactly where you stand. If your current physician dismisses your concerns or refuses to look for the root cause of your pain, it may be time to find a provider who takes nutritional science seriously. You deserve a healthcare partner who wants to fix the problem, not just mask the symptoms. I have seen over 300 patients turn their lives around using this exact protocol. People who were told they had no choice but to suffer. You don't have to accept a life of numbness and pain. Your nerves are resilient, and they are simply waiting for the nutrition they need to begin the healing process. If this information gave you the hope you've been looking for, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend or loved one who is struggling. Don't forget to subscribe to Evergreen Seniors for more evidence-based tips designed to help you thrive after 60. Have you tried B vitamins for your nerves before? I read every single comment, and your story could be the inspiration someone else needs to hear today. Until next time, stay active, stay informed, and remember that your health is your greatest wealth.